All right, welcome to today's explainer. We are jumping right into the EPA Section 608 Universal Certification. Whether you're looking to break into the HVAC industry or you're ready to massively level up your current career, look, this is your non-negotiable gateway. I mean, you literally cannot legally touch refrigerant in the US without this card. So let's look at exactly how you can get your hands on it without entirely draining your bank account. To put things in perspective right off the bat, $44,539. And no, that is not an annual starting salary. That's actually the staggering per-day fine that the EPA can slap you with if you're caught handling refrigerants uncertified. The government absolutely does not mess around when it comes to environmental chemicals, and they enforce these fines heavily. So what's driving this? Well, it all comes down to Section 608 of the Clean Air Act. Basically, this law dictates that anyone who maintains, services, repairs, or disposes of equipment containing regulated refrigerants absolutely must be EPA certified. Think about what that actually means on the job, right? You want to buy a standard jug of R410A from the supply house? Gotta have the card. Need to braze or weld a copper line set together? You need the card. What about recovering old chemicals from a scrapped system? Yeah, you guessed it. You need the card. Suppliers won't even sell to you, and employers simply will not hire you without it. It's really the ultimate gatekeeper in this field. Now, let's talk about how this actually shapes your career trajectory, because, there are different levels to this certification. You could go the route of a type-restricted tech, but that means you're legally barred from touching anything outside your specific lane. Imagine being a residential guy who literally cannot touch the walk-in cooler at the restaurant right next door, or a commercial tech who has to call in a subcontractor just to handle a centrifugal chiller. It puts this massive rigid ceiling on your career. But then you have the universal tech. Universal means you've passed all 4 sections of the exam. One exam, 0 job restrictions, and honestly, here's the best part. It has lifetime validity. It never expires. You are unrestricted forever. Okay, so what does it take to actually snag that universal card? Let's break down the realities of the exam itself so you know exactly what you're stepping into. It's a 100-question test, divided up into 4 sections of 25 questions each. First up, you have the core section. That covers the ozone science, the Clean Air Act, and the heavy regulations everyone needs to know. Then, Type 1 covers small appliances under 5 pounds of charge. Think window ACs. Type 2 is your high-pressure systems like residential splits or commercial rooftops. And finally, Type 3 handles low-pressure systems, those massive commercial chillers. But here's the kicker. To get universal, you need a 70% on every single section, meaning you have to get at least 18 out of 25 right across the board. You can't just ace the core, completely bomb Type 3, and expect to walk away with a universal card. Doesn't work that way. And this perfectly illustrates why you really can't just coast by with a stack of flashcards. Consider this scenario for a second. A high-pressure system with 60 pounds of R410A has a leak. What is the maximum allowable annual leak rate before you must repair it? And how many days do you have? You see, the exam doesn't just ask for simple definitions. It demands applied critical thinking. It forces you to take those rigid regulations and apply them to complex, real-world scenarios that you're actually going to face out there on a rooftop or in a mechanical room. Now, traditionally, getting ready for an exam this rigorous has been a pretty major pain point. If you go the trade school route, you're looking at dropping anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000. What about standalone prep courses? Well, they'll run you $150 to $400. Even just grabbing the study guides is going to cost you $50 to $80 out of pocket. But honestly, the money isn't even the most frustrating part. The real problem is that these traditional methods are incredibly rigid and completely non-adaptive. They basically force everyone to read the exact same boring paragraphs in the exact same order. And that's whether you've been installing mini splits for 2 years or you've never even held a manifold gauge in your entire life. Which brings us to the core of what we're explaining today. I want you to meet Ari. Ari is a completely interactive, scenario-based AI instructor. And instead of just handing you a dusty textbook and, wishing you luck, Ari puts you directly into the field through a dynamic, one-on-one dialogue. It's a completely different way of learning the 608 material. Instead of a boring one-way lecture, it's an actual conversation. Let's break down exactly how Ari pulls this off, because the technology here is honestly incredibly cool. Step 1, Ari throws you into real-world scenarios. It'll say something like, okay, you arrive at a commercial rooftop unit. The owner says it's been losing charge. Walk me through your leak detection process. What's your first step and why?
Step 2, it actively tracks your specific hesitations as you answer. And step 3, it drills your knowledge gaps until the answers become entirely automatic. Ari basically acts like a highly knowledgeable buddy sitting right there in the passenger seat of your work van. Like, if you know the refrigeration cycle in your sleep, it just skips it. But if you keep mixing up type 1 and type 2 evacuation levels, which, by the way, is a super common mistake that costs people major points on the exam, Ari will put you in targeted scenarios that force you to distinguish between them until you simply cannot get it wrong. The curriculum itself is incredibly robust, too. You are looking at 18 highly focused sessions designed specifically to secure that lifetime certification. We are talking deep dives into ozone science, international treaties like the Montreal Protocol, and modern phase-down rules like the AIM Act. You'll master the refrigeration cycle, exactly how to handle recovery and reclamation safely, those critical differences in evacuation levels, and all the granular type-specific material. And get this, you can even pick Ari's tone. If you want a fast, highly technical challenge, you've got it. If you need it to be patient and explain why in the world evacuation levels are different for systems with known leaks, it will slow down and walk you through it step by step. Okay, let's shift gears and talk about the payoff, because the money in this trade is very, very real. The lucrative career progression you unlock with this is undeniable. Entry-level technicians, they're starting around $39,000 to $45,000. The median pay sits comfortably right around $60,000. But look at that top tier. Senior techs and commercial specialists with just 5 or more years of experience are pulling in $70,000 to $95,000. And remember that universal card we talked about earlier? That is exactly the golden key that allows you to leap from residential work into those high-paying commercial specialist roles.
And if you're sitting there wondering about job security, well, the numbers are just incredible. We are seeing an 8% industry growth rate right now, which is literally double the national average. That translates to over 40,100 job openings every single year. Why is it so high? Well, because the current workforce is aging and retiring. Because every single new building requires climate control. And because the phase down of older refrigerants is creating this massive, unstoppable wave of work for certified technicians who actually understand the new rules. The industry quite literally cannot fill these positions fast enough.
So let's recap. You know you need the certification. You know the traditional prep methods are wildly expensive and deeply flawed. You know Ari is this incredible adaptive scenario-based AI tutor that can get you across the finish line. So what is the total cost for this course? $0 and 0 cents. It is completely 100% free. There are no sneaky paywalls. There's no, hey, the first section's free, now plug in your credit card to keep going. There are no subscriptions. It's just free.
Now, you might be scratching your head asking, wait, how is that even possible? Why is this free? And that brings us to the AI Bridge Foundation. They are a registered 501c3 nonprofit organization, and their mission is incredibly straightforward. They firmly believe that trade certification shouldn't cost what a week of hard work pays, period. So they're actively building the tools that ensure financial barriers never keep motivated people out of high-paying, absolutely essential careers. I really want to leave you with this thought as we wrap up. The EPA 608 Universal Certification truly is the single most important credential in HVAC. It's your golden ticket. It's the absolute foundation of a career where you are the person fixing the critical infrastructure that literally everyone depends on, but, nobody ever really thinks about until it breaks. So here is a final thought to leave you with. We've always been told that breaking into a skilled trade requires dropping thousands of dollars and sitting for months in a classroom. But if an AI can now adapt to your exact learning style and get you fully certified for absolutely free, what's your excuse for waiting? The barriers are completely gone. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. If you're curious to see how this technology adapts to you, go test it out. Let's get to work.